in the U.S., President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump test positive for COVID-19. Both are now under quarantine. The president has been downplaying physical distancing and the wearing of face masks, despite his top health experts saying these are crucial to prevent virus transmission. Mr. Trump claimed in the presidential debate earlier this week that he has nothing against face masks, but he and a number of White House officials were recently seen not wearing them. This includes a top aide who's also infected with COVID-19. CNN anchor and correspondent Robyn Curnow now joins us live from the CNN World headquarters in Atlanta. Robyn, what's the latest on the president and the First Lady's condition?
We have no details on their condition. They say that they are beginning their quarantine. This is the tweet from Donald Trump a few hours ago in the recovery process. It's unclear if they're showing any symptoms. Many Americans will be waking up to this news. It's just past 6 a.m. in the morning. Donald Trump only confirmed that he had tested positive for COVID at 1 a.m. local time. Many Americans, as I said, will wake up to this information, and they will also ask questions as to why they weren't told sooner and what, if anything, will they be told in the coming weeks as the president battles this virus.
Robyn, Mr. Trump attended an event in New Jersey on Thursday morning, even though some officials reportedly already knew that top aide Hope Hicks was infected. Can you give us a clearer timeline of what happened?
And I think that's really important here. It's about transparency, isn't it? And many Americans are already trying to backtrack, trying to look at their schedules. Many American journalists who traveled with the president to many of these events are also wondering why they weren't told that perhaps there'd been an exposure and they too flew on Air Force One. So what is interesting, though, is that the president and Hope Hicks and the key members of the White House team traveled to a number of these locations, including the debate on Tuesday. They were planning to be at a rally on Friday and on Saturday. And throughout all of those journeys, they did not wear masks, they did not social distance, and in many ways they huddled inside at fundraisers or in Marine One, the helicopter. And doctors have looked at those images and said, well, the next question is how many other people within the West Wing could be infected or at least exposed? And that brings up a national security problem, because if there's going to be a quarantine or an isolation of much of the inner circle of the Trump White House, what does that mean then for the running of the government? And then, of course, also the campaigning ahead of the election, which is just a month away.
Yeah. Well, President Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden faced off in a debate 2 days ago. Any word from the Biden camp and the debate commission?
The big question there, because as you saw in that debate, Joe Biden wore a mask at the beginning. Mr. Trump, as well as many of his family members, walked very boldly into that room without masks on, clearly making a statement. In fact, Mr. Trump also mocked Joe Biden during that debate for wearing a mask. So whether or not Joe Biden will have a test, it's more than likely he will be tested for COVID to see if in any way he was also caught up in this infection that seems to have been around the Trump inner circle. And it'll be obviously another question as to what happens to the next debate, which is in 2 weeks' time. Can that be written off already? Because the Trumps will have to be in isolation for at least 10 days since the onset of these symptoms. What does it mean for polls? Will voters switch and think differently in terms of the way the campaigning might be truncated? There are a lot of questions as to where this is going, what it means politically, because, of course, many of analysts here are saying an American president hasn't faced such a serious health crisis in decades.
Yes, a question indeed. What does that mean to the Trump campaign and his re-election bid? CNN's Robyn Curnow there, reporting live from Atlanta. Thank you, Robyn.